Scafell Pike. Scafell Pike is the highest and the most prominent mountain in England at an elevation of 978 meters 3,209 ft above sea level. It is located in the Lake District National Park in Cumbria and is part of the Southern Fells and the Scafell Massif. Scafell Pike forms part of the inactive Scafells volcano. Etymology and name history. The name Scafell is believed by some to derive from the Old Norse Scafell, meaning either the fell with the shieling or the fell with the bald summit, and is first recorded in 1578 in the corrupted form Scafell. An alternative derivation is from the Old Norse skagi, meaning a cape. It originally referred to Scafell, which neighbors Scafell Pike. What are now known as Scafell Pike, Crag, and Broad Crag were collectively called either the Pike's Peaks or the Pikes of Scafell. See below regarding spelling. From many angles, Scafell seems to be the highest peak, and the others were thus considered subsidiary to it. The name Scafell Pikes was adopted by common consent according to Jonathan Otley shortly before the publication of the fourth edition of his guidebook in 1830. Up to this point, England's highest mountain, its status as such was not known until the early 1800s, did not have a name of its own. It was labelled Scafell Higher Top by the Ordnance Survey in their initial work in Cumbria in the first decade of the 19th century. The newly developed name reported by Otley first appeared on a published Ordnance Survey map in 1865. Formerly the name was spelled Scafell, which better reflects local pronunciation. This spelling has declined due to the Ordnance Survey's use of Scafell on their 1865 map and thereafter. Topography. Scafell Pike is one of a horseshoe of high fells, open to the south, surrounding the head of Eskdale, Cumbria. It stands on the western side of the cirque, with Scafell to the south and Great End to the north. This ridge forms the watershed between Eskdale and Wasdale, which lies to the west. The narrowest definition of Scafell Pike begins at the Call of Miclidor 831.6 m 2728 ft in the south, takes in the wide 877.6 m 2879 ft. A more inclusive view takes in two further tops, Broad Crag 935.3 m 3069 ft and Crag 930.9 m 3054 ft, the two being separated by Crag Call 882.3. This is the position taken by most guidebooks. North of Crag is the more definite depression of Calf Cove at 853.4 m 2800 ft before the ridge climbs again to Great End 909.5 m. Scafell Pike also has outliers on either side of the ridge. Lingmel 807 m 2648 ft to the northwest is invariably regarded as a separate fell, while Penn 760 m 2500 ft, a shapely summit above the Esk, is normally taken as a satellite of the Pike. Middleboot Knots is a further top lying on the Wasdale slopes of Broad Crag, which is listed as a nuttall. The rough summit plateau is fringed by crags on all sides, with Pike's Crag and Dropping Crag above Wasdale and Rough Crag to the east. Below Rough Crag and Penn is a further tier, named Dow Crag and Central Pillar on Ordnance Survey maps, although known as Esk Buttress among climbers. Broad Crag Call is the source of Little Narrow Cove Beck in the east and of Piers Gill in the west. The latter works its way around Lingmel to Wastwater through a spectacular ravine, one of the most impressive in the Lake District. It is treacherous in winter, as when it freezes over it creates an icy patch, with lethal exposure should you slip. Broad Crag is a small top with its principal face on the west and the smaller Green Crag looking down on Little Narrow Cove. From Broad Crag, the ridge turns briefly east across Crag Call and on to the shapely pyramidal summit of Crag. Crag and its associated crags overlook Eskdale. Scafell Pike has a claim to the highest standing water body in England, in Broad Crag Tarn, which confusingly is on Scafell Pike proper, rather than on Broad Crag. It lies at about 820 meters, 2690 ft, a quarter of a mile 400 m south of the summit. Fox's Tarn on Scafell is of comparable height. Mountain classification. Scafell Pike is a Maryland summit, which automatically makes it a 2MP and a 2MP. Scafell Pike is topologically unusual because the Maryland qualification contour line 150 meters below the summit passes around Scafell, which is itself a 2MP. Scafell Pike's Makwako line also encloses 3 other 2MP summits: Broad Crag, Ill Crag, and Great End. Summit. The summit was donated to the National Trust in 1919 by Lord Leconfield in perpetual memory of the men of the Lake District who fell for God and King, for freedom, peace, and right in the Great War 1914-1918, and 18. There is a better-known war memorial on Great Gable, commemorating the members of the Fell and Rock Climbing Club. The actual height of Scafell Pike is a matter of definition or guesswork. The highest point is buried beneath a massive summit cairn over 3 meters high, and it is not known how high the fabric of the mountain rises under the cairn. Traditionally, the height was given as a very memorable 3,210 feet or 978.4 meters. The metric height of 978 meters converts to 3,209 feet. Scafell Pike is one of 3 British peaks climbed as part of the National Three Peaks Challenge, and is the highest ground for over 90 miles 145 km. Geology, Ordovician and volcanic activity. Scafell Pike consists of igneous rock, including breccia, andesite, and rhyolite, as well as geothermal tufa dating from the Ordovician. It is geologically part of the Borrowdale volcanics and, along with the other peaks of the Scafells, forms part of an extinct volcano, which was active around 450 million years ago. Pleistocene glacial activity. The rugged summit of Scafell Pike was shaped by glacial erosion of the last glacial maximum tilde 20,000 year, during which the Lake District was overlain by ice sheets with thicknesses of several kilometers. Contemporary weathering. The summit plateau of Scafell Pike and that of other neighboring peaks is covered with shattered rock debris, which provides the highest altitude example of a summit boulder field in England. The boulder field is thought to have been caused in part by weathering, such as frost action. Additional factors are also considered to be important, however. Opinion varies as to what these may be. James Clifton Ward suggested that weathering with earthquakes as a secondary agent could be responsible, while John Edward Marr and Reginald Aldworth of Dolly believed that earthquakes were unnecessary and suggested that frost action with other unspecified agents was more likely. To the north of the summit are a number of high-altitude gills which flow into Lingmill Beck. These are good examples in Cumbria for this type of gill and are also biologically important due to their species richness. Tourism. Scafell Pike is a popular destination for walkers. There is open access to Scafell and the surrounding fells, with many walking and rock climbing routes. Paths connect the summit with Lingmill Call to the northwest, Micklidore to the southwest, and Escaws to the northeast, and these in turn connect with numerous other paths, giving access to walkers from many directions, including Wasdale Head to the west, Seathwaite to the north, Langdale to the east, and Eskdale to the southwest. The shortest route is from Wasdale Head, about 80 meters above sea level, where there is a climbers' hotel, the Wasdale Head Inn, made popular in the Victorian period by Owen Glyn Jones and others. According to the National Trust, as of 2014, there were over 100,000 people per year climbing Scafell Pike from Wasdale Head, many as part of the National Three Peaks Challenge. Survey point. Scafell Pike was used in 1826 as a station in the principal triangulation of Britain by the Ordnance Survey when they fixed the relative positions of Britain and Ireland. Angles between Slieve Donard in Northern Ireland and Scafell Pike were taken from Snowdon in Wales, as were angles between Snowdon and Scafell Pike from Slieve Donard. Given the need for clear weather to achieve these very long-range observations, 111 miles to Slieve Donard, the Ordnance surveyors spent much of the summer camped on the respective mountain tops. Scafell Pike was not used as a station in the earlier part of the principal triangulation of Britain, even though Scafell formed one corner of a principal triangle. The Ordnance Survey's high-precision theodolite was not taken to the summit until 1841. Views from the summit. Summer. Scroll left or right. Winter. List of summits visible. As the highest ground in England, Scafell Pike has a very extensive view ranging from the Mourne Mountains in northern Ireland. On a clear day, the following prominent mountain tops Marylands can be seen: the summit. Dunrig, 77 miles 124 km, 2 degrees. Fincy, 18 miles 29 km, 2 degrees. Turner Cleuch Law, 71 miles 114 km, 4 degrees. Dale Head, 5 miles 8.0 km, 5 degrees. Wisp Hill, 58 miles 93 km, 11 degrees. Skiddaw, 14 miles 23 km, 12 degrees. Roan Fell, 55 miles 89 km, 15 degrees. Knott, 17 miles 27 km, 17 degrees. Peel Fell, 63 miles 101 km, 24 degrees. Blencathra, 14 miles 23 km, 28 degrees. The Cheviot, 83 miles 134 km, 31 degrees. Cold Fell, 39 miles 63 km, 39 degrees. Howgill Fells, 29 miles 47 km, 103 degrees. O Fell, 2 miles 3 km, 105 degrees. Yorkshire Three Peaks, 36, 44 and 36, 44 and 38 miles 58, 71 and 61 km, 119 degrees. Bowsworth Hill, 63 miles 101 km, 135 degrees. Pendle Hill, 55 miles 89 km, 138 degrees. Ward's Stone, 38 miles 61 km, 142 degrees. The Old Man of Kynaston, 7 miles 11 km, 149 degrees. Winter Hill, 64 miles 103 km, 154 degrees. Scafells, 52 miles 84 km. Slieve Donard, 111 miles 179 km. Slieve Crag, 112 miles 180 km, 268 degrees. Veniraird, 80 miles 130 km, 303 degrees. Berwick, 69 miles 111 km, 315 degrees. Pillar, 4 miles 6 km, 318 degrees. Cairnsmore of Carstairs, 68 miles 109 km, 326 degrees. High Stile, 6 miles 10 km, 328 degrees. Criffel, 37 miles 60 km, 334 degrees. Grasmore, 8 miles 13 km, 342 degrees. Great Gable, 2 miles 3.2 km, 351 degrees.